Hi, it's Karen from Black Swan Journals. I wanted to make a quick and easy junk journal, and I'm choosing to do it out of a magazine and a few pieces of junk mail. And to be quick about it, I'm just going to fold my pages in half, which is going to result in a journal basically 5 7/8 by 9 inches tall. If you wanted yours a little smaller, just choose those measurements I wrote down for you at the bottom of the envelope. I'm using a piece of this cardboard as the spine. I'm going to take two pieces and glue them together, and I'll show you how. And here I'm just getting my cover. This is going to serve as the front cover. I'm going to use a piece of the front cover for my front cover and the back cover as the back cover. So here what I'm doing is I want to make sure I like the image that I choose on the front, so I'm using these to sort of frame up what I will see. And I also know that my measurements need to be 9 inches by 5 7/8 if I want to make it easy and quick and just fold the pages in half, which you'll see what I mean in a minute if you're new to this. So there's the back cover. They're both the same measurements, 5 7/8 by 9 inches. And I wrote or 5 3/4 by 9 inches in case eighths you don't get it. I know a lot of people don't measure and they just like to flow. So in case eighths aren't your thing, it's very, very close to 5 3/4, and I think that's a much more comfortable number for some of us. So yeah. Here what I'm doing is I'm going to make my spine about 1 inch wide. So I'm marking 1 inch, and I'm marking down at the bottom the height that it needs to be when I cut it, because it needs to be the same height as the covers, the front and back covers of the journal. So now I'm going to take the two pieces of cardboard and we're going to glue them together for extra thickness and durability. So I chose this type of cardboard for my spine because it's more porous and not as glossy, and that always sticks together easier than some of the stuff that has like a shine or a gloss on it. And I like to use a Fabrifix or a Fabri-Tac if I'm not going to be sewing, because it's really strong. You don't have to, but it's really durable, and you know it's going to be really sturdy for years and years to come and glued down. And I'm putting two pieces together because it will be the equivalent thickness of the magazine cover, the journal cover. And I put glue on both pieces because I'm not sewing this and I just want it to be extra sturdy and durable. And you want to make sure you let all the glue ooze out to the edges if you have extra. And if you don't, you want to make sure it oozes out to nearest to the edge and lift up and put more glue if you need to. So mine's pretty dry now. And now we're going to make the spine and attach the front and back cover. So I ended up making it a little too tall. I don't know how I did that, but just trim it off if that happens to you. And let's hope the other way doesn't happen. That's too short. You could repair that, but it's best to make a new one so that it's strong. So here I have this wide piece of ribbon, and I'd say this ribbon is probably about 1 3/4, probably 1 3/4 inches wide, and the spine of the cardboard there is about an inch wide. So I cut the ribbon for enough to fold over at the top and the bottom, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. But basically you want to leave about an inch extra ribbon at the top past the length of the cardboard. at the top and the bottom. 1 inch at the top extra and 1 inch at the bottom extra. And I'm using that same glue here because it's really meant for fabric, but it's great for paper. It's really strong. So I know it's not going to come apart. And you need a lot of glue. Don't be stingy with your glue. Really give it some good glue. And I also like about this glue, it's slippery, so you have a minute to kind of move it around if you need to. Once I get it straight and lined up, now I'm going to attach the front cover. So I'm putting glue about 1/4 of an inch on the edge of the ribbon, and then leaving the edge where the stitching is, the left edge, and then leaving the other part with no glue whatsoever, because that's where you need to fold and hinge your covers. And now I'm just lining it up, making sure I have about, here I'm using about 1/4 of an inch gap where I don't butt it up to the spine, because you want to be able to fold it nice and easily when you use it, open and close it. So the same on the other side. Leave about 1/4 of an inch where there's no glue and it's just ribbon, and it folds really well and really easily. You could do this with fabric too, like even just like a sheet, a bed sheet, cut it up. You could do it with other ribbon. You could do it with, maybe you've got an old placemat kicking around, like a fabric placemat or an old table runner. I mean, there's just so many things you could use around the house. So I like this glue again for that same reason I was saying. It moves around. I was able to move it around nicely there and line up the ribbon. It doesn't grab so quickly that you can't, move things around. But it dries pretty quickly too. But anyway, so I'm making sure everything's straight and lined up and looks good, and I've got the right amount of space to open and shut the journal. And that's what it looks like so far. So now you could just cut that off blunt, but I want mine to be a little bit more durable and not fray. And this ribbon does have wire in it on the edges, like on the ends. So, that would kind of hurt if you banged your hand on it or something, if you're grabbing it out of your purse or whatever, out of your bag. So I decided I wanted to fold mine on the inside and glue it down. And I do that. And it helps to weight it down because it's not very long. So you just want to make sure you're really giving it a tight bond because it's short. And also, if you have a bone folder or butter knife or something like that, in those gaps where it's just ribbon, I'm making sure I press down really, really well there so that it's completely adhered together. And now I'm going to check to see if it still folds and opens and closes nicely, and it did. But yeah, so now we're going to start to play with the magazine. And I'm going to give you some ideas of, at least my way, of making a magazine journal a little bit more cohesive and not maybe every color under the sun, if that's something you're interested in. If not, just go for it and just let it be what it is. And that's great too. But I'm sort of using this journal as a design tool for me to use to sort of like as a mood board, but instead of a board, I'm going to use a journal to collect fabric samples, photos of inspiration, paint colors, swatches, all kinds of things to design a studio that I'm building. So I want the journal to look a little cohesive and not too many colors, because that is just a little too distracting for me when I'm trying to concentrate on a design. So here, that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing pages that have a lot of white and room to write, and I'm choosing pages that I don't have to cover up too much to give me the feel that I was just explaining. This magazine also came with, I want to say, like 6 pieces of these like scrapbook weight papers that were perforated and they just rip right out, and they're awesome. And then also I consider like the center of my signatures, and I am making 3 signatures. So that page I just ripped out, I'm going to use as the center of one of the signatures. And what I mean by that is when you get to a center, you can see both sides of that page. So it's a great opportunity to showcase something like that. That's really beautiful. But basically, I'm trying to think of colors that I like, colors that inspire me, and stick with those colors as I rip out. I also try to pick out images that I know later on I can cover up things that, say I liked one side of it, but the opposite side was something I'm going to need to cover up. Here I'm showing you this magazine offers, and others do too, things that you could just cut up just like that and use as a journaling tag and just glue it down to junk mail. We're going to do that later in the video, and leave the back blank, and you've got a space to write. Here I'm showing you, I'm choosing this because I'm going to use it for the inside of the front cover. And I'm going to use this part of it because I do love pink, but I'm not using pinks and light blues in this journal. So I'm using that postcard side of it, and there's plenty of writing space on it, or drawing space if I get an idea for the room. And here, these hands just inspire me so much. I love the neutralness of them. Something about them just makes me get sparked and ready to start getting filled with ideas. So I picked them. Those things I just passed over, you could easily use those as journaling tags or other blank writing spaces, but I have other ideas for them. So they're not coming in today. Here's another one of those like scrapbook type papers. That's awesome. So here comes a really nice opportunity for a center signature again. And it's the page I'm cutting out right now, and on that side right there. And I think it's so pretty. It's also reminiscent to me and makes me feel flow and get loaded with ideas because I live on a very old property, and we have a very old antique apple tree, and it is that color, those apple blossoms, it's that color in the spring. And I just keep going. I just keep going with the same thought of ripping out all the pages for the signatures in the colors that I like. And don't forget, if the back side is something that turns you off or, isn't what you want, don't worry about it, because in a few minutes we're going to choose other photos and images from the magazine, and then we'll cover those up and we'll make pockets and we'll make tuck spots and all kinds of fun things. And then the journal overall will have a feel that you'd like it to. I love these here because you could simply just cut these in half if you like the imagery on them and glue them down vertically over a page that you didn't care for, and then you'd have a really large pocket. And that's one of the beauties of cutting the pages, or not cutting the pages actually, and just folding them in half, because you have opportunities like that where when you do what I was just saying, it fits perfectly. And I'm just showing you things that light me up, like I love that little tote bag of gypsophilia or baby's breath. And here, I love these as well, again, just to make those I love gardens and flowers, so I love those. And just to make those pockets. I love words too. Don't forget to cut words, like the word that just said transform it. I thought that was cool, and I cut that out. And any words or phrases that make you inspired, or even letters. Say you like a font and maybe you don't care for the word, but you just like the font. cut that word out too, because you can cut it up into individual letters. So here we're going to start folding the pages in half. It helps if you have a bone folder. It really does make it lay that much flatter, which makes your journal less bulky down the road. So for now, I just fold them in half, and then I put about 8 to 9 pages in my signatures, in each signature. And there are 3 total. And also when you're folding your pages, if it matters to you, I consider which way I want to bind them in. Like, do I want the print to read, from the left to the right, or flip it the other way? Just kind of play with it and see what you like before you commit to it. So I don't care for the colors on the front cover. So here's where we're going to cover it up with one of those scrapbook type more. It's not really heavy, but it's definitely way heavier than magazine, and it would have that sort of noise if you shook it. You know what I'm talking about? If you love paper, I bet you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I use that for the front cover, but because it doesn't fit entirely, I pick another piece and I choose to cut it in a way that sort of gives me value from the imagery. I choose to cut a little bit off the left and the right of that piece of paper so I can fully see the imagery of the postcard, the parts that I liked the best. So you can consider things like that too, if you want to. And here, after I glue it down and push your bone folder out, start in the middle, push it out all the way around. Any glue that comes out, wipe it up. Then I go in with the bone folder, make sure it's down really well, because I don't want my spine to come apart later on. I want it to be sturdy. If things do start to come apart and lift up, it's no big deal. You made the journal. You can do little repairs to the journal. So don't worry and don't stress. But I've made a few, so I just kind of consider these things up front. And all that comes with learning and practice. So I take the other piece of that and I say, hey, I'm going to make a pocket right now on the front cover. Why not? I love it. I love the image. It's a sturdy piece of card. And this also reinforces the front and back cover, doing what we're doing now. Taking this sort of weight of paper and putting it down on the inside. But it does another thing too. It covers it up and makes it look pretty and finished inside. You don't have to do that, but it certainly looks nicer and gives you an opportunity for more writing. It covers up the colors I didn't really want to see this time around. And it provides me with a pocket for more space. Looks a little more finished because I cover up the inside where you could see where it was cut and glued down. So several reasons here. Vanity and practicality and stability. But I'm not gonna lie, I like it to look pretty. But I also love that it's junk. I mean, how cool is that? So yeah, I just glue it down on the 3 sides to make a nice large pocket. And if you don't know about that glue, that Fabrifix glue, it does this sort of like chemically like volcano action sometimes, so it's best to keep your pin in it. It'll like volcano out and go all over. It also can do that in like weird temperature. I don't know if it's like high temperature or really cold temperature, but it can sort of explode like that. So here I really liked that piece to create another pocket, but what I did was I chose to cut it, and the reason why is I didn't want to lose some of the imagery I really liked. So I cut it in that way so that I could see the whole thing that I thought was really pretty. And I love to be inspired when I use and open up my journals. So now our cover is nice and sturdy, completely finished, ready to go, and has 2 pockets already. And looks dynamite. I mean, most of that's due to the artist that made that painting on that cover. Right? We've got to give credit where credit is due. That is a fantastic, beautiful piece of art. I pulled out a few colors of twine, but I end up settling on the pink. I like the contrast. It makes me happy. So here, you want to leave a little piece at the top and hold it, and then wrap it around once, wrap it around twice, and then wrap it around one more time, a third time. And now you're done wrapping. So now to fasten it, all you have to do, it couldn't be easier, is you just take the 2 ends, make sure, it doesn't matter which one, make sure one of the ends is underneath all 3 of the strings, and then just tie a knot. I love this kind of journal because when I'm in a hurry, it's really great that there's no sewing. You can just slip the signatures in and out. You can take things in and out of your journal at will. So you just make sure the 3 strings on the inside aren't all jumbled up. It doesn't matter on the outside, but just on the inside so that you can slip in each of your signatures. I love it. I'm going to have so much fun filling this up with all kinds of fun things. And so now I'm going to consider how I put each page next to the other page. And if this doesn't matter to you, you can just go with it. Just doesn't matter. Pick up a page, put it down. Pick up another page, put it down. But it did matter to me in this case. So I wanted the colors to have some kind of cohesion and go together, including the cover. So I'm considering that as I sandwich in each page, creating the first signature here. So what I'm doing is picking pages that have writing space, that have colors that are cohesive that I want to use, that I'm considering. If I love that little word right there, spotlights. It'd be really cool to put something nice there. Of course, I'm considering the center of the signature. Those for me sometimes are just inspirational and not practical. Sometimes I just like to look at them and not really necessarily write on them. Other times I make pockets out of them and they're still practical, and when you remove something out of the pocket, you've got something really pretty and inspirational to look at. But yeah, so I just go through and I try to make it as cohesive for me as I can. And when I can't, I know that later I'll go back to the magazine. We're going to do it together coming up. You can choose other images in the magazine that are still in the palette that you're working in and cover up other colors that aren't in your palette. And in the process, create fun tucks and pockets and all that. And in the end, you've got a journal that probably really lights you up and pleases you. And also has lots of space to stuff things. the important part. Just kidding. But yeah, so that one might be a little too orange, so I set it to the side. And I love that one. Definitely has flowy colors. I know I can cover up other things. I love this as a center of a signature, but I also really liked the inside of this page here. It had all these mannequin hands in it, and I just find it so intriguing. And I'm just pondering, which one? Because I only have 3 opportunities for a signature center. So I put them to the side and I kind of, I'm going to mull it over. So now I got them all done, got them all finished up. They're not covered up yet. We're going to do that together, but I've got them flowing as good as I can to make it the least amount of work for me now coming up to have to cover colors that aren't in my palette. So we're going to take the first signature, and I have 8 pages in this signature, and they are magazine thickness with probably 1 or 2 of those more heavier weight papers in there. And you just slip it right in just like that. Now I'm going to take the second one, you open it up, you find the center, hold it down with your thumb, slip it into the second signature holder. And you don't want to tie it too loose that they're all flopping around, but you don't want to tie it so tight that you're cutting into your cover. You'll get a feel for it if you haven't done it. And here's the third one. And there's a beautiful center in there. And same thing, just slips in just like the other 2 did. Couldn't be easier. So if you don't have a lot of time and you just need to make something quick, this is a great way to go. And now I'm showing you all the space that you have, so much space to fill it up, because that's the width of the spine, and it closes down to that. So you've got quite a bit of room to stuff things in there to make it equivalent to the width of the spine. And you can stuff it and make it fuller. It just gets a little bit more alligator-y, like crocodile mouth, like it opens up like an alligator's mouth. So here's some fun junk mail that you might not want to throw out or, packaging and things. So here's a little cellophane baggie that was some packaging. Here's a gift card holder that I got for Christmas, and I'm going to use the holder. And it's already ready to go. Some people cut things out like that of junk mail or cardstock, and that one's already like that, so don't throw it out. Another little thing I got in junk mail, that's a part of a packaging from Amazon. Here's a little clothing tag. It already has the hole punched in it if you want to put a string and make a journaling tag. You can even use, like I love to use my chocolate wrappers, because my chocolate's already wrapped in like some other wrapper anyway inside, so that one's completely clean. I love using it. Here's a little coloring thing I started doing and never finished and abandoned like years ago, so it's a great way to use it up. Also I don't use greeting cards in this journal, but I just wanted to show you. Greeting cards that you've saved are a great way to use in junk journaling. Envelopes that you've got hoarded, junk mail envelopes. Here's packaging. That's a great way to use for junk journaling. Again, junk mail envelopes, especially big ones like this. They're all wonderful opportunities for junk journaling. So are cardboard and cereal boxes, cracker boxes. This is a coffee filter box. I'm not using these, but I just wanted to show you for inspiration. That's some tea that I have, and I absolutely love the imagery on the fronts of the cans, so I always peel it off and keep it and use it. There were some old book pages, music paper. That was papers I coffee dyed. You could get into that and do that too. We don't do that here. This is strictly all from a magazine. I just thought I'd show you what you could do. And here I'm just showing you, you could cut things out that are already shaped in a way that create tags, and then you have no work to do other than to glue something writable on the back. Yeah, so I wanted to just point that out. And I'm going to do that with this page here, use all those squares there. You could also cut that out right here that I'm showing you with my fingers and make a journaling tag. Bang, you're done. And I was explaining great uses for these earlier. You can just put them in a vertical way, and it makes a really large pocket. Or you can cut out little things that are inspirational too. Like I love that lady's little ponytail there wrapped in ribbon for some reason. And words, like anticipations or anything that grabs you. And here's more imagery that's ready to just cut and go. You don't have to collage or do anything if you don't want to. And here's more things you could just use as journaling tags. So this, journal for me was just a quick and easy one. Get it done, make it up so I can get going on my studio. So I love this page here with the artist's brush. It really sets the tone for what this journal is all about. And I figure on the edge here, I could use another offcut of that thicker, heavier weight card, and you could make a pocket there if you wanted to. And here, I didn't care for the back side of this, so I am going to take one of these pieces and just cut it right up. And those black lines come in great handy too, because they are great guides for your scissors, so you don't cut wonky. Or if you have a paper trimmer, even better. Which I do, but just using my scissors here with you today, in case you don't have those tools built up in your stash yet. And if you ever get like freaked out by all the tools that you see people having in videos, they've probably been doing it for a while, and you just end up building, a stash over time. But yeah, so now we've got a nice big pocket, put glue on 3 sides, and now we've got a really big pocket and cohesion. And here, there is cohesion, but I need some practicality. I can't really write too much on that page, so I chose to do a little tuck spot there with that piece of magazine. And I glued, and it also helps too if you want to wrap it around to the other side. It makes your pages a little bit more reinforced if they're thin. What I love about this magazine too is it's muted, like the pages aren't super glossy, and I love that. And also it's filled with artwork, which is super inspirational for me. And here I love the flowers, and I didn't love the colors on the tops of this page. And to make it more cohesive and pleasing to my eyes, at least, we're all different and no judgment, but just the way I liked it, I covered it up there with that thing I did like. And then it, all of a sudden was pretty to me. So do things like that if you want to, if it matters to you. So here I put a little envelope I had kicking around that's kind of wrinkled and creased, and just hinge it over that. And now I've got a little extra space to tuck in fabric swatches or inspirational, beautiful things I see in magazines that I cut out and say, ooh, I want to do that. And here's some good writing space. I love what it reads. It's inspirational. This is all so pretty to me. You could put a pocket right here because you can cover it up, it's just words. So I choose to do that. And here's where I'm choosing to use some junk mail to make the pocket thicker and more reinforced. And it won't rip, it's got some more weight to it by gluing it to the junk mail. And it wasn't quite big enough, so I just kind of collaged it there with another strip that I thought looked really nice with it. And now you got a nice big pocket. You actually have 2 pockets. Love that word spotlight. Love the center here. I'm not going to do anything to it. I just think it looks so pretty and makes me want to get going. But I'm pointing out you could do a little corner pocket there, and you really wouldn't interfere with the print too much. I love all of that, so I leave it be. Lots of writing space here. In the future, I am going to cover up all that print, though, on the left. And here, I didn't care for the pink and the green this time around in this journal. I do love colors like that, but not so much in this journal. So I cover it up with this piece that I feel goes better, and make another large pocket for myself. This page I'll probably cover up with something to write, something pretty blank so I can write. And here I'm covering up some writing with some junk mail. And all I did with this junk mail is I folded it inside. Not folded it, I turned it inside out because it had that pretty like black and white print on the inside, the security print. And then I made sort of like writing space on the inside. Now I have a place to write where before you really couldn't because there was writing all over it. And then here I used that little packaging to make a little pocket to put in maybe some samples of fabric or something in. And here I'm covering down an image that wasn't really flowing for me with one that was and created another pocket with something that had some inspirational words on it. And now I'm making a hinge page just simply because I like the artwork. It doesn't really serve as much practicality. It could be a pocket though, but I'm hinging it by folding down the page about 1/4 of an inch, adding glue just to this side of it. And then an easy way to line it up is to do what I'm doing here and then just push it right to the edge. And I really loved the front and back on there. And later on I'll cover it up with something solid so I can write on. I do love orange, but in this journal I'm not really using that type of color. But I do love that word tips in the perforated line. So when I make a pocket here with something that is more to our color palette this time, I keep in mind to not make it too big where it's going to cover up that word tips in the perforated line. Just because for some reason, to me, I think it's funny, I think it's cool, I think it's useful, I think it just kind of makes me like, oh yeah, some tips. Who couldn't use some tips in life? You know, just, I don't know, it makes me happy. So if you see anything like that when you're working with magazines, just consider it so you don't cover it up. I was thinking about covering up the knife somehow, but I don't know. It was just kind of like, I don't know. But it was okay. I didn't really come up with a way to do it, and instead just kind of left it with a pocket at the bottom with the blue journaling tag there. And here I end up using a large image from an artist that they had made, and of this bird here with a lovely, lovely quote. It really was the quote because the colors aren't really flowing for me, but the quote just kind of did me in, and I had to add it. So here I'm pushing out the glue so I get a really good adherence, and it's 100% glued all on the inside and all the edges. And I'm just wiping off my bone folder so I don't redeposit glue all over it as I continue to wipe it down. There was an envelope I had on hand. I'm doing a little flip through now of the finished product. We're all done. And this is how it's coming out. I think it looks pretty good. So I did take the offcut of the front cover and made a little pocket there. And then I took this envelope and cut up a whole bunch of those images, all the little squares and stuff, and made a whole bunch of little cuts that I can now use throughout the journal. And I had a little fusion paint, like a sample I got from a store, that will be really helpful to me as I decide what colors to use in my studio. And on the back, I just used some, I think it was like a cereal box or something like that, or a cracker box. And you can still write on the back of it, or you could cover it up with something lighter so that you can write with more visibility. You could also just use white acrylic paint or a product called gesso and just paint it white. So yeah, you can certainly make a journal from a magazine and still keep it in colors that please you. if you just give it a little effort and a little thought. So you can have some nice big pockets. You could do so much more. I really did very minimal to this journal. I plan on doing more as I use it, adding more pockets and more tucks and maybe a belly band or things like this. Here's that beautiful center. But anyhow, I did pretty minimally this time around. You could do something on every page if you wanted to. Create spaces to tuck or cover it up even more to write. But yeah, now we have a really long pocket. You could tuck all kinds of things in there. And you can write all over the front of it, which is why I didn't adorn it with more things to give myself more space to write. And anywhere on the white parts of the pages, you can write. Even if there's imagery on there, don't be thrown off by that. You can still write. But if it bothers you and you need things to be really structured and stuff, you're probably not watching this video. You're probably attracted to things like this and you don't really mind it. But I know it would drive some people crazy. And they would need just, pure white blank pages, page after page, and that's completely fine. But for me, I don't know, something about this, I'm really drawn to it. I love paper. I always have. I just love playing with it. Something about it. Just, bury me in it. I love it. I'll be happy. I also love fabric, and I love to paint as well, but I'm a beginner at painting and drawing. But anyhow, I hope you found this useful, and I hope you make one. And thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed and you like it, would you please? And if you're interested in seeing more of my videos and you don't know how to do that, you do it by subscribing and hitting the notification bell. I'm making a series of videos on the progress and process of my studio. So if you're interested in seeing how I design it while I consider what inspires me and put really fun things in there, as well as I consider practicality and containability for all of the things, please check back. Thank you so much. See you next time.